Thank you for watching this presentation, a telecollaborative study of university students in Spain and Sri Lanka using the Soqqle video app. This presentation was put together by Marni Menegra at URV in Spain and Piumi Udeshini at NSBM Green in Sri Lanka. So we're just going to tell you our agenda. We're going to go through the background, a little bit about interculturality, which is part of the objective of this study, to build interculturality into the classroom. We'll discuss what the Soqqle app is, go through our research questions, discuss our participants, the procedure, the results, and the summary. So let's get started, and we'll talk about interculturality and introducing interculturality in the classroom. So interculturality relies on the biased and subjective comparison of different cultures. When it is introduced, students not only learn what is culturally appropriate despite any biases they may see, but they also learn how to use language to communicate across cultures. And through this process, students not only learn about a foreign culture, but they also develop a better understanding of their own culture. So within this study, we wanted to introduce interculturality and discuss culture, discuss our own cultures, and discuss another culture, and do this through a virtual exchange and telecollaborative project. And when you introduce interculturality into the classroom, which is the discussion of culture, that actually can help with intercultural competence, or IC, or intercultural communicative competence. So how we did this was using the Soqqle video-based app, which part of why we did this is because we were building a virtual exchange or telecollaborative study, which we wanted to be asynchronous because of the time zone differences. So the Soqqle app, it was created by Daniel Shen, and it is the easiest way for students to submit video-based homework. So the idea is that the students are creating videos. But because this is an education-based app, it does have security and privacy features. Now, let's look at why we would want to use Soqqle. So Soqqle was built in the style of social media. And so that can allow for students to like and share. It's something they're familiar with, but they can also learn from each other. So where we look at use experiential learning, it is for peer-to-peer learning, where they can comment and they can discuss things back and forth. And as I mentioned, it is an education-based app, so there are private class codes. So this is not open to the public. It is secure and it is safe for the students. We didn't get into game-based learning in this particular project, but I do want to mention that the teachers can also look at the social analytics to see how the students are participating and what type of work that they're doing, what type of comments that they're making. We did, however, want to use this for collaboration. Now, how you would use Soqqle. Soqqle is very similar to TikTok. So what the students would do is they would create a video, upload it to the Soqqle app using a class tag, and it would be based on whatever the assignment is for that week. So again, it is asynchronous and it is secure because it is an education-based app. So our research questions for this study. The first one, will using the Soqqle app to create short videos as a telecollaboration project increase the cultural awareness and intercultural competence of the students? Our second question, will the video creation activities and participation in this project enhance the students' EFL listening and speaking skills? And our third question, will the students enjoy collaborating with other students, and will they enjoy creating the videos as part of their EFL class? So our participants in this study, we had 58 students in the second year English degree program at URV in Spain, and 120 students in the Business English program at NSBM Green University in Sri Lanka. The range of English on the CFR scale was between A2 to C2 amongst all participants. Just as a note, the majority of the students in Spain were at that B2 level, whereas they seem to be a little bit more diverse in Sri Lanka. and only the participants that completed the entire study were included in the final analysis. So our procedure involved a pre-questionnaire and post-questionnaire. The questionnaire was based on the students' perceptions, and then they were numerically coded for the analysis. There were 5 Soqqle tasks or videos that needed to be created from October through December of 2021. And the students also participated in 2 Zoom conversations. We did want to have a little bit more of a connection between the students, so they did have a couple of conversations that were synchronous included in this project. The pre-questionnaire, a little bit more on this, it was used to assess what the students knew, so their cultural knowledge of the foreign culture, their collaborating partners, and the country that we were collaborating with. So the students in Spain received questions about Sri Lanka, and vice versa. The students in Sri Lanka received questions about Spain and the Catalan region of Spain. We then had 5 video tasks, and I'll go through each of these tasks with some screenshots so you can see them. But the first task that we looked at was food, and let's have a look at the food task. This one here, the instructions were to essentially just upload what they were eating or what your food looks like. The students really did raise the bar on this. They exceeded our expectations because from both universities, almost all of the students created full cooking videos where they discussed the ingredients they were adding. We can see the 2 on the left are from Spain, the other 3 are from Sri Lanka. And when we look at these particular videos, you can see at the top, the administrator or teacher can add a rating with comments. And then on the right-hand side of the screen of each of these, if the profile picture has a purple circle around it, that means that this user is being followed by whoever is looking at the phone. There is a like button, which you can see with the teal heart, and then a comment button or icon where you can comment on the screen or on the video as well. And we'll look at the second task. This one here was Street View. The instructions for this task were to either be in the passenger seat of a vehicle, not the driver, or to go for a walk through your neighborhood. We did want to make sure that there was privacy, so we asked them not to show their home address or the outside of their house specifically, but just show us what you can see in your hometown, or when you go for a walk, what does it look like outside, and describe it to us. So you can see some of the different videos we received here. The third task was music, and this, we really did allow for the students to be creative. You can see in the second image here, this is a student who went to a concert. The fourth one was a student playing guitar on video. Some people just talked about their playlists or music in general. The fourth task were their activities, which included sports, reading, hobbies, anything they wanted to talk about, or they could show us what they were doing. With the screenshots that we chose, we didn't want to include any of the students' faces, but a lot of the students did record them doing their own activities or dance or anything they participated in. And finally, we asked the students to record animals in their neighborhood, animals of their country. The majority of the videos that we received were actually house pets. So you can see some of the videos here. Now for the Zoom conversations, what we did to create the groups for the Zoom conversations is we had the students complete a pairing survey. So we could pair them and put them into groups with students with similar interests in hopes that they would have more to talk about. There were 19 groups in total, each named after letters of the Greek alphabet. 3 to 4 students from Spain in each group and 7 to 9 students from Sri Lanka. The Zoom conversations, the students were given objectives as to what they should be talking about, and they were asked to pick a moderator. Now, because of privacy concerns with the Sri Lankan University and for quality assurance, we did have a professor attend each of these conversations, but the professor did have the microphone and camera turned off to allow the students to have more natural conversation without us guiding. So they were asked to pick a moderator, and they had a list of instructions. If the conversation was going well and they wanted to deviate from the instructions and have a general conversation, they were able to do that. But their first conversation was in October, and they were just to discuss what a typical day of a student looks like, or their typical day. And their second conversation was mid-November, where they were allowed to share images of any cultural artifacts or holidays that they celebrated and discuss the upcoming holidays. Finally, the students completed a post-questionnaire. And some of the questions were similar to the pre-questionnaire in that we wanted to assess after this project what the students had learned at the conclusion of the study. But we also then asked them questions to analyze their perceptions of learning and their perceptions of enjoyment. So our first hypothesis was that participation in the Soqqle exchange will increase cultural awareness and intercultural competence. To analyze this, we first looked at all of the students together and looked at their cultural knowledge on the pre-questionnaire to post-questionnaire based on what they had reported. And here you can see there's quite a bit of a difference from pre to post. And so when we look at the t-test from pre to post, you can see that it's significant with a very high Cohen's d effect and the mean and standard deviation for each of these. But further to this, we wanted to see what would happen if we looked at the universities separately. Now, looking at the universities separately, you can see that both of them did rise from pre-test to post-test, but there was a difference in the universities on the pre-test or the pre-questionnaire, and that the students from Sri Lanka claimed to know more about Spanish and Catalan culture than the students claimed to know about Sri Lankan culture. So there was just a difference in knowledge of the other culture by university. And so we ran this information with the two different universities and the two tests through repeated measures in NOVA. The measure that's repeating, of course, is the pre-questionnaire to post-questionnaire. All participants went through the same thing. And as you can see, there's a difference, a significant difference in the university, and that mainly comes from the pre-test. There's a significant difference in the testing, which we already knew from the t-test, but there is also a significant difference in the university when compared to the testing. And so looking at the post hoc tests, we can see that with the university, the Cohen's d is a medium Cohen's d, but it is significant. And with the testing, of course, we've got a much higher Cohen's d, or a much higher effect with the difference from pre to post. Okay, so then also looking at our second hypothesis, creating and watching the videos would increase listening and speaking skills. To test this, we looked at the students' perceptions. And at first we looked at the two universities separately because there was a difference in their cultural knowledge. However, the difference in their language skills, or looking at the skills difference, is actually not significant, and just barely not significant, with the P's being 0.053. But we did actually look at the scores with a chi-square goodness of fit for the general foreign language skills, the foreign language listening skills, foreign language speaking skills for Spain separately from Sri Lanka, and for both schools together. And we can see with these chi-squares that they are all significant. And what that means is we can see that there is a difference in how they're reporting. It's not normally distributed. And also that this would be how, looking at each of these schools as a sample, if we looked at the sample, we could extrapolate it to the population that it represents. Looking at the descriptive statistics, if the mean is greater than 3, that means they generally agree that their foreign language skills increased through participation, their listening skills increased through participation, as well as their speaking skills. So all of the students felt that these skills had increased, And with the chi-squares being significant, they feel that each of these skills increase through participating in this project, so we can accept our second hypothesis. The third hypothesis, the students will enjoy participating in this collaboration and making videos. So for this, we looked again at the chi-square goodness of fit for each university for participation enjoyment, and we can see again they are all significant. And then looking at all of these students together, we can see the mean is 4.477, which is quite high. It needs to be above 3 to show that the students generally enjoy their participation. And you can see the box plot here where you can see the range and where the majority of the scores are. So they're really between agreement and strongly agreeing. And if we look at the universities separate, we can see that there's less of a range with Sri Lanka, which is University 2, and more of a range with the Spanish University, which is number 1, where there were more students that really stuck closer to that strongly agreeing in terms of enjoyment in this project. Looking at a little bit of the qualitative data, we did take the top 6 comments of anything else that they wanted to share regarding this project, participating in this project. And I'm not going to read all of these. These were not comments that were cherry-picked. We just took the top 6 from both Sri Lanka and then Spain. I'm going to read the first, third, and fifth of each. So the first one on this page, I learned their culture and special difference between Sri Lanka and Spain. The third, it feels like so happy and so lucky to have this chance for the first time. And the fifth, this project is really good for everyone because, to be honest, I learned a lot of things from this project. Looking at the comments from Spain, the first one, it helps to develop empathy towards a different culture, which is very important. I also learned a lot about Sri Lankan culture. I improved my video editing skills. And the third one, it helps you to speak with other foreign people in English so you can improve your speaking skills, but also your listening skills. We have different accents and it might be difficult sometimes to understand what the other one says, but in the end you learn from each other more. And the fifth one, I have learned to open up a bit more with the videos, to speak without fear, and to be a good listener. So in summary, the students have learned more about another culture, including their traditional dishes, cultural events, and climate. The students believe their speaking and listening skills have improved through communicating and listening to a different dialect of English, and the majority of students have enjoyed participating in this project. Again, we would like to thank you for listening to this presentation. We've included our references here, and we look forward to seeing you at the conference, albeit virtually.